Hello and welcome to The Set Piece, the show that takes you behind the headlines with me, Bill Leckie. Normally here is Robert Grieve, but he's off in Bologna with Celtic. So I'm delighted to say joining me today is the one and only Roger Hanna. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good, you look good.
I wish I was in Bologna, I have to say.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Robert Grieve always gets a good trips.
He does get a good trips.
A big game for Celtic tomorrow night. There's still something on it, you know. Celtic and Martin O'Neill can get through.
I think they need 4 points probably for the last two games that have got going to have a chance.
Agree. You would think Utrecht at home next week's a winnable game.
Below them, yeah.
To a point, and I very much look forward to seeing Lewis Ferguson versus Callum McGregor.
Yeah, that's good. It's a big showcase for Lewis, this, isn't it? Just to show how far he's come.
And they're not going great.
No.
They've had a bit of a blip. I think it's 1 win in 9.
Yeah, but I think they're on from where Celtic are just now. They're on a higher level than where Celtic are just now. But it'll take a Feyenoord level performance.
I was going to
Celtic.
say that. I'm sure people said that about Feyenoord before Celtic went there under Martin, and it was one of the better away
for a long time.
Yeah, for a long time. And if that's now the standard, then Celtic bound to have a chance of getting the point that we think they need in Italy.
So you'll read all about that from Robert Grieve in paper and online. However, I wonder how much of Celtic's mind at the moment will be on Sunday at Tynecastle. Hearts against Celtic, one of the real pivotal games of what's been a remarkable season, and it's come at a really rotten time for Hearts. They've lost Cammy Devlin for 8 weeks, who for me has been the best player in the country this season, and now they've lost Shankland, their skipper and main striker, probably for the same amount of time. How big a double blow is that for Derek McInnes, Roger?
Listen, they are big blows, and they don't come alone, you know, under the radar. Agu, the club's record signing,
has barely played.
Yeah. Ocean McAtee's out, Stephen Kingsley's out, Benny Benningham is suspended. That's his own fault for a ridiculous challenge against your boys 10 days ago.
Yes.
But it is beginning to pile up for Derek. The one thing you'll say in his favour is he does have a big squad. You know, you would think Pierre-Landry Cabore would come in for Lawrence Shankland. He's still got Elton Kabangu, as long as you don't ask him to take a penalty.
No.
He's still got young James Wilson. They're fast-tracking Rogers Mato in from Vardar.
He's not going to be there for the weekend, I don't think. It's the middle of the park though, Roger.
Middle of the park.
Cammy Devlin has been absolutely magnificent. He's taken his game to a new level. He's stopped running about chasing people, and he's now doing what Callum McGregor does for Celtic. He's fetching and carrying, he's dictating the tempo. His influence on people round about him has been enormous. And if you Beningham's been very good as well, but you take both of them out.
Yeah, well, Magnusson will play. Thomas Magnuson's come out and done well.
He's all right.
I think Blair Spittle, at the minute, you would think would go in with him.
And Harry Milne played there against Falkirk.
Yeah, exactly. With Jamie McCarthy at left back.
Yeah. Hearts
are trying to get in the lad Mendy, the Forest Green captain, before the weekend to give them added impetus in the middle of the park. It'll be fascinating to see. Every time two of these top three meet between now and the end of the season, it's going to be bigger than the previous.
Absolutely, yeah. This one I think is bigger. I mean, Hearts have beaten Celtic home and away, and they've beat Rangers home and away, which is fantastic. They've come through two challenges where they were down to 10 men back to back, Dundee and St Mirren, and they've won both games. Fantastic. This for me is the biggest challenge. If you've got Celtic at home with Martin O'Neill back in charge, and it's all, I think it's always more difficult being the front runner, especially if you're not expected to be there. And I think if they come through Sunday without losing, it'll be the biggest result of the season for them.
Well, they're getting closer to the end of the season. Only 16 games to go. They've got a 6-point cushion.
Yeah.
If they get through, as you say, unscathed with the 6-point cushion over Celtic, they would be pleased with that, I would think, when you consider all of the circumstances. But then again, everything that's happened to Hearts this season, Hearts will believe they can go and win this game. All the evidence will point that Hearts can go and win this game. It's the biggest challenge yet because of the absentees. It's the biggest challenge yet because, you know, this time it's a Martin O'Neill.
That for me is one of the big things. If Hearts had lost Devlin and Shankland, but they're playing Wilfred Nancy's Celtic, they'd still fancy their chances, very much so. Anybody would. But Martin O'Neill, although Celtic still aren't playing very, very well, although they're still short of players, although they still haven't set the transfer window alight, Martin O'Neill brings something.
Yeah. It's amazing to think Hearts have played Celtic 3 times in the league against 3 different Celtic managers.
Isn't that incredible?
It's bonkers. Celtic might have Tomas Cvancara,
Yes.
if I'm saying that correctly, in time, the negotiations to bring the Czech international striker, well, in from Borussia Mönchengladbach, the Bundesliga, 8 caps. He's had a difficult time since he's gone there from Sparta Prague. He's had one loan spell away already in Turkey. But it looks as if he's coming in for a medical while Celtic are in Bologna and could be available for the weekend.
Does it strike you as an exciting signing? Because it doesn't. To me, I've got to say, it's not something you say, oh, we need to go and sign that boy Tomas Cvancara. No.
I know what you mean. I get the impression with Celtic at the minute, short of signing Messi or Ronaldo, people wouldn't be happy.
Yeah. I'm not sure Michael Nicholson could get the phone call back from Messi or Ronaldo.
Well, he doesn't. Cvancara, the stats aren't great. Mohamed Bamba, who they looked at before, the Lorient striker, the stats aren't great.
Yeah.
But Kyogo Furuhashi, I think had scored 1 league goal in a year after leaving Celtic between Rennes and Birmingham.
Yeah.
So those stats weren't great. So in January, when Celtic are desperate, they're not going to get
and that
a
is the word.
striker on form.
Desperate's the word, Roger.
Stats. Yeah.
Desperate to strengthen the team, desperate to get the fans off their back. You heard them again on Sunday at Kilmarnock when they played Auchinleck, which I thought was a dreadful Celtic performance, and one that backed up everything Martin O'Neill had said in his press conference a couple of days before about how far behind they were. He made like 10 changes and kept Callum McGregor in. Yeah. And the guys he brought in just, I'm not saying they didn't look interested, but they didn't look interested.
There's no, I know what you mean. You know, Barrett Wisha at £5 million.
Yeah.
Wow. Paulo Bernardo has gone off a cliff.
Honestly,
I remember
last
Paulo
season
Bernardo
looked a tremendous player.
He scored an Old Firm goal against Rangers at Parkhead at Christmas New Year time.
Absolutely.
And looked as if he was going to take off. And now he's going backwards at an alarming rate.
Yeah.
You know, he's Celtic's 6th choice midfielder, and he would be 7th choice if they had 7.
Yeah, it's on one hand it's very worrying times for Celtic. On the other hand, you look at Martin O'Neill and you think he's a guy who'll get results, whether they're playing well, whether they're not, and he'll. As I've said on here before 2 or 3 times now, he is the perfect, probably the only guy they could bring in that could hold them together just now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But he will demand players, and you know, Cvancara looks as if he's coming. He'll demand more. He needs more. You could see that at the weekend. There is no depth to the squad now. Those were the guys. The French players got their chance against a 6th tier team on a neutral ground.
And we're outrun.
That Celtic play on more often than Auchinleck play on. Celtic had 3/4 of the fans there. It's effectively a home game for
Auchinleck haven't played since December the 20th.
Yeah, and those French players just didn't take a chance.
No.
And by the way, they better not go and champ Martin O'Neill's door this week.
No. And we hear it from, we've heard it from Stephen Robinson this season, we hear it quite often, is players come and knock my door, they want a game, I give them a game, they don't turn up. And it must be one of the most frustrating things for any manager.
Yeah.
So, Hearts Celtic, what's going to happen on Sunday? What's your verdict, Gaffer?
It's difficult to say ahead of what happens in Bologna on Thursday night because, you know, if Celtic go and win in Italy and they come back full of confidence and they're vibrant and ready to go, Cvancara comes in, makes a debut, suddenly things look bright. Will Hearts get Mendy in from Forest Green to bolster the midfield before the game? You said you didn't think Hearts would be dreadfully offended by a draw, keeps them 6 clear of Celtic and knocks another game off. Wouldn't surprise me if it was a share of the spoils.
But at the same time on Sunday, 3 o'clock, Rangers play.
Yeah,
so it gives them an opportunity, a very good opportunity, at home with Dundee, to get themselves right back in.
And they're at home to Ludogorets, the Bulgarians, tomorrow night at Ibrox. And again, it doesn't matter. We've said Celtic's game matters because Celtic can progress. Rangers can't progress. I would think it would be a sort of mix and match. Danny Rule team, he did that on Friday night against Annan. A few played and a few didn't.
And he did get a tune out of the guys who came in.
Yeah, some of them, Majovski especially. Yeah.
And Dowell comes in and scores, and
Asgard's free kick.
Yeah. So I think he will probably think, all right, the guys who I called in actually did okay for him.
Yeah, so some of the ones, he can only use the ones obviously in the European squad.
Yeah, absolutely,
so you won't see Skov, Olsen, you won't see Chukwueme, Romans is injured anyway, so some of those guys you're not going to see. I think he'll mix and match it, doesn't really matter. All that matters to Rangers is Dundee at 3 o'clock on Sunday.
Absolutely.
And getting the win in the knowledge that something will give at Tynecastle and both Celtic and Hearts can't win.
Put you right on the spot right now. if I gave you £5 and said, put that on somebody to win the league, who's going to win the league right now?
Right now, history would tell you that Martin O'Neill's Celtic will still win the league.
Okay.
With your eyes, you see how good Hearts have been this season, but 40 years in this business tells you that they always trip up.
You know, you say there's only 16 games. That's a lot of games.
The greatest thing for Scottish football,
Yeah.
and our lateral journalistic great would be Hearts winning the league.
Yeah.
It would be fantastic. It would redefine the Scottish game.
Yes.
It would be magnificent. It would give hope to Hibs and to Aberdeen. It would do for the Scottish League what Leicester City's win did for the English Premier League. It would be magnificent.
I tell you what, the Leicester City win in the English Premier League did for the English Premier League. It made them tighten the rules so it could never happen again.
Well, listen, maybe it did.
Yeah.
But Hearts winning the league would be great. Everybody would love. Everybody who's not a Celtic Rangers fan would love to see it. It would be great. But history just is swaying me.
Yeah, it's like any time. You know, I was last when they're playing the cup final with Celtic, and you tell yourself every reason why you're going to win the cup, and then you start to tell yourself every reason why you can't win the cup, because it doesn't happen to teams like us. It doesn't, you know, against the big teams, they'll get a penalty, they'll get something, and then you do go and win it, and it's the greatest feeling in the world, and it would be just phenomenal for Hearts.
It would,
you know,
it would be great.
It would be great for the game.
And you do wonder if this is their chance, because Celtic, as we alluded to, Celtic have been in turmoil. 3 managers, 4 if you include Martin's 2 spells. It's been ridiculous. Rangers have been in turmoil.
Yes.
Russell Martin to Stevie Smith to Danny
It's been the perfect storm for a third force to come through.
Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell have gone. They're still waiting for Jim Gillespie coming in.
Yeah.
There's been players coming and going. There's been turmoil at both Old Firm clubs. You know, you very seldom see them both like that in the same season.
Absolutely.
And Hearts, fair play to them, have stormed through the middle. I just wonder, by next summer, Celtic will get a new manager in. They'll need to bankroll him. Rangers
look like they're getting their sanity back at last off the park.
Absolutely. So, I mean, Rangers are mounting a title challenge, having written off the first 2 months of the season, being 8th in the table.
Well, I've got to say, if I had that same fibre, I'm tempted. I can't at the moment see where Rangers lose games. They are grinding away.
They are
without
100%.
Without making anybody leap up and down at the quality of what they're doing, and they're just doing it. Now, again, it'll come down to they've got Hearts at Tynecastle in 2 or 3 weeks. There's another 2 Old Firm games. They've still got to go to Tynecastle again. So there's a lot of big things to do. But right now...
And actually, in this mad season, the post-split games, Hibs and Motherwell can have a say as well.
Absolutely.
Because they're decent sides who could trip up any of the top 3.
They're bang the top 6.
Well, listen, they're a wee bit fanciful now, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's that. It is so much more interesting, so much more fun. I've not got a dog in the fight in the top 6 at the moment. So I don't really care. But I'd love to see Hearts win the league. Love to see Hearts win the league. I'm like you. There's something in the back of my head that says, you know, like for instance, if Hearts, having led all the way, found themselves through results in the next couple of weeks, either second or third, and having to come back again, I wonder whether they'd be able to, especially without these 2 key men, whether they'd be able to come back a second time and do it. If they get knocked off the top and they come back up again, that would be beyond. That'd be beyond miraculous. But you know that this is the test that Leicester City had it. They lost Jamie Vardy, sending off in the run into the league, and everybody has setbacks at some point. You can't just pick the same 11 players and do the same thing every week. And this is when Derek McInnes's squad are going to have to step up and do the business. And on Sunday, I cannot wait to see this game on Sunday because I just think it has Tynecastle, especially at Tynecastle. That place when it's full and it's noisy is going to be remarkable.
But being honest, any of the 3 of them could win it. One of the things that I think that is in Hearts' favour is they can focus in the league. They're out the Scottish Cup, having lost to Falkirk last Saturday night. They never had any European football this season. That's all they've got to worry about. Just one league game to the next. If Celtic get through, they get the result they need against Bologna and Utrecht, Celtic will have at least 2 more European games. They've got a home Scottish Cup tie against Dundee. No disrespect to Elvis, but if Celtic get through, there's more games. Rangers have beaten Annan, home to Stranraer. You would expect them to get through in the Cup. They've still got Ludogorets this week, Porto next week. They've got travelling and what have you. I think the benefit for Hearts is all they need to worry about is the Premiership.
Do you know, it's an interesting thing. I think you're absolutely right on that. It's an interesting thing in where Rangers are, and this will probably sound like a bit damning with faint praise, right? But Hearts lose Devlin and Shankland, you think those are enormous blows. If Celtic were to lose Callum McGregor, it would be an enormous blow. Yeah. Rangers don't have anybody who is irreplaceable. Yeah. He's got a team of, you would have said maybe last year, 2 years ago, they can't lose Tavernier. They maybe can't lose Jack Buckland. Yeah. You wouldn't say that now. No. And there's nobody in that Rangers team who they couldn't do without. Yeah. Yeah. And maybe that's a help rather than a hindrance to Danny Rowe, that he's got much of a muchness. And I do wonder if they've still got a card to play in the January window. Skov Olsen, 40 caps for Denmark, a quality player. They've got him in. They've got another left back in. Chukwuani's coming in to fill the void left by Conor Barron's injury. Yeah. I wonder if there's a striker still to come. I think they need one. Yeah, I just wonder, you know, there was all that chat last week about Celtic wanting Joel Perro from Parag Marat's Leeds United. Yeah. And you think that's not happening. That's not happening. You do wonder, transfer window day, Leeds are signing players. You got the lad in Buonanotte came in from Brighton there a couple of days ago. You do wonder if Parag Marat's Leeds could do Parag Marat's Rangers a favour. Well, I always thought, I'm not saying that Rangers would have been a sort of feeder team or either way around be a feeder team, but you did think there'd be more action between the two. And there's not been much between Hearts and Brighton either. No, that's very true. But yeah, if I've said all along that before the injuries at Hearts needed a goal-scoring midfield player to complete the set. I think Rangers need something sharper up front, more foxy in the boxy kind of thing. You just want someone like Joel Perreault, who's clearly not going to figure much for Leeds, but has a good record. I don't know whether it's still an option or it's not. But as soon as I heard that West Ham were thinking about shifting Callum Wilson, right away you went, if you get a short-term deal for a guy like that, and the kind of Jermaine Defoe. Yeah, the worst thing that happens is him scoring the winner for West Ham at Tottenham. Aye, it didn't help anybody. But you know what I mean? Yeah. If there's somebody kicking about who's maybe tipping over his career into the way Jermaine Defoe was. Like Kelechi Iheanacho. That's the guy. And you bring him in, you think that'll turn the season round. Mm-hmm. You don't know what. Listen, you wonder. Thanks for just breaking my point in two there, Roger. How close he is, Iheanacho. Yeah. You know, because if Celtic have gone away with Maida and a bit of Johnny Kenny and as little as Shinya Mada as they can get away with. In the second half, if they got Cvancara in and he started playing the way he did at Sparta Prague back in the day, and you had a fully fit Iheanacho there backing him up off the bench, or vice versa, it does improve Celtic. It does, and you've got Maid on one side, you've got Tynecastle maybe on the other side, who still looks, scored a great goal on Sunday, still flirts to deceive a little bit. I still think there'll be a winger coming. I still think even if it's a loan. They like a winger, don't they? Yeah, even if it's a loan like Cvancara, I think there'll be a winger coming in as well. Yeah, a left-footed player off the right-hand side, because they really don't have. And listen, Martin's pushed Luke McCowan up there some of the time because he doesn't really trust the rest. It's kind of forgotten about because people talk about the loss of Jota, but they've never really replaced Lyle Abada out there, because he was terrific for coming in off the right. I mean, Nicholas Kuhn was the one laterally who was terrific, but again, laterally was. But when he came in at first, people went, "Oh, what have they bought here?" He's so. But I don't think Balak was certainly not the answer. No. Yang, great goal in the Old Firm game. I'm not sure he's the answer. James Forrest, not to start, I don't think, now. No, I mean, he's not quite having the impact that even he did in the last year or two. Yeah. Fascinating, isn't it? Great goal by Tynecastle. He's got that. But a bit like Thello Asgard at Rangers with that goal against Annan, all it did was show they've got the ability. Show, my goodness, look what he did. And also it's a goal that... And it irritates you because they don't do it more often. And also it's a goal that's in a game that's already won. Yeah. Like Asgard. Aye, that's what I'm saying. It's not a goal... I mean, it's a beautiful free kick and he does all that stuff and all that, right? But it's not a goal under pressure to win a game. No. And I think one of the things that's let Rangers and Celtic down this season is that when they've been under pressure, when they've played Hearts, even when they've played each other, there's been guys who you think, okay, this is why you've been signed for games like these, and they haven't turned up.
The good ones, you're talking about the spectacular free kicks, you always go back to James Maddison. Against Rangers, and you saw, what a player Maddison is. Even recently, Callum McGregor at your place, 95th minute. The big players come up.
Turn up with the big things.
In the big moments, when they're needed. They don't turn up when they're 4-0 up at home to Annan, or winning against Auchinleck Talbot, just to put the gloss on.
Well, so this is where we come back to Hearts. Somebody's got to step out of that pack. They're not going to say, they can't feel sorry for themselves. Oh, there's no Cammy, there's no Shanks. Somebody's got to say, well, this is my time. We're playing Celtic at Tynecastle. This is my moment. I want to be the guy that was remembered. It's like Craig Gordon coming off the bench at Dundee the other week. Nobody goes, oh no, we've had slow. Brent comes on, makes the save of the century.
A great player stepping up.
And doing the big things.
Doing the big thing in the big moment.
He
didn't make that save when we were 4-0 up.
No.
He made the save to preserve a point. Or 2 points.
To get him the win. So somebody in that Hearts team has got to step up on Sunday and be the guy.
And to be fair to that squad, they've had different players. I mean, Halkett scored 5 or 6 goals. Finlay scored 4 or 5 goals.
Really well,
Harry Milne, who you touched upon earlier this season, has stepped up and done his bit. Magnuson, when he's coming into the team, has stepped up. I'll be fascinated to see Derek's team, whether he goes with a back 3, which is almost a back 5, if you know what I mean. And it's then, Braga and Kizaridis, probably with Kabore, and a couple of midfield, Magnuson and AN other, whether it is Blair Spittle or whether it's Alan Mendy, if he's in time or who, is there something he can do? Is there is there a defender he can push in there into a midfield holding role? If
there's one manager who is good at that in this league, it's Derek. He's very adaptable. He's also very adaptable in game. He uses his subs very well. He reacts really well to what the other manager does. I think they're in a good position there, and that Derek is a guy who's not stuck to a system. He's not stuck to a way of playing. And again, Hearts have done really well. They've got their business done early in January, so they're doing all the right things. They've just been unlucky to lose 2 big guys at the right time. I don't know if you've seen the boy Jordi Alton, the right back. I think is excellent.
And you wonder if he's an option, because he was a central midfielder.
He was a central
before
midfielder,
he was converted back to right back.
So whether they could...
Can Steinwender play?
Well, I was going to say, they could almost go centre-halves all the way. You could play a back 4 of centre-halves almost. Where you had Steinwender and McCart playing.
Well, I think
with Halkett and Finlay.
We talk about Craig Gordon's save. When Craig Gordon made that save, Hearts had a back 5 of Steinwender, Frankie Kent, Craig Halkett, Stuart Finlay, and Jamie McCart. Across the back. So
they could do that. They could move Alton back into the middle of the park. There's a lot of things they can do which could work, and I think that's in their favour. But as I say, pull the blinds, get the kettle on. 3 o'clock Sunday, Hearts Celtic is going to be absolutely tremendous. You say the Rangers against Ludogorets is a... do you not think that the older fans are winning Europe?
Oh yeah, listen, they'll put out a decent team, they'll try and win the game, they're capable of winning the game. It's just, you get to 2 games to go and you can't qualify, and in previous years, Rangers have done really well in Europe. As well as the final in 2022, they've got through to quarter-finals, even under Barry Ferguson last year. They beat Fenerbahce and Mourinho, and they got to take on Athletic Bilbao and what have you, and there was real pizzazz about the whole thing. This is a bit kind of, just a wee bit
It's a little bit, But they wouldn't want to go through the European campaign the way they did in the Champions League a few years ago without getting a result.
I agree with you, and they could well beat Ludogorets. The point I was making was, in terms of importance, it's well behind the Dundee game in terms of importance.
Of course it is. So we've just come off the last of the Scottish Cup ties was fixed. Well, not fixed. Was sorted out last night from Stranraer.
Have I missed something?
No, it was the betting that was suspended in the Auchinleck Celtic game, wasn't it? So Stranraer, Queen's Park were trying to get the return game at Ibrox after putting them out last year, but it's going to be Stranraer this year. I hope the next round is more exciting than the last round, because I found that I was very lucky. I was at Dunfermline against Hibs, which was tremendous. Old school, East End Park, 10 and a bit thousand, last gasp winner for Dunfermline, who were tremendous. And apart from that, and Falkirk winning at Tynecastle, well played Falkirk, fantastic. I thought it was a really nothing.
Tell that to Stenhousemuir, who beat Tell it to Kelty, who threw penalties, and played Dunfermline in a derby now.
Everybody's got their individual things, but I just felt,
I know what you
especially Rangers Annan moved to a Friday night. Auchinleck Celtic moved to a Sunday tea time at Rugby Park.
Listen,
I thought the excitement was kind of sucked out the cup. I wanted. You look at the FA Cup third round the week before, with Macclesfield beating Crystal Palace and that.
I know what you mean. It was a kind of draw where, I know you got lucky, but the draw would have been better if a lot of the teams, if it had been the other way about, if Rangers had gone to Annan,
absolutely.
If Aberdeen had to go to Kirkcaldy to take on Raith Rovers and that kind of thing.
Would have been totally different.
We don't like the old Premier clashes. I was at Livingston St Mirren, met twice in 4 days. Kelly played Dundee again. And there was an awful lot of that going on. So I know what you mean, but I think the deeper into it we get, it'll be good. Aberdeen Motherwell in the 5th round. That's a proper cup tie.
Dunfermline, I say, I've always thought East End Park's is a Premiership ground, waiting to happen. And they had a big crowd. The Hibs half of that crowd went away very disappointed. But Dunfermline punters it was just a proper special day for a very young team, especially 3 really young centre-backs. And I thought it was just, that was a proper cup tie, and getting the winning goal and the last bit of stoppage time. And
a huge blow for Hibernian.
Massive.
I like Hibs. I thought Hibs did well in Europe early in the season. I think David Gray's a good young manager. There were good players in the team, but I thought they got it all wrong, and it was a weekend where they needed to win. We spoke earlier on, Bill, about Hearts going out the cup, and it's not a big blow for Hearts because they're top of the league. Hibs going out is a double blow because they're not top of the league, and they're watching their rivals joust for a league title. They're jousting for 4th or 5th with Motherwell at best.
Absolutely.
And they're now out the Scottish Cup and they've nothing really to play for while watching Hearts try and win the league. It was a bad win. I thought David Gray, I don't know whether he underestimated Dunfermline. I'd seen Hibs' previous 2 games against Motherwell and Kilmarnock, and they played well. And their way of playing, and didn't really make many changes, if any, and they looked good. I thought he made too many changes. He put players into different positions. He brought guys in from the cold, and there was clearly thinking behind it, but it's backfired dramatically.
Well, Neil Lennon came straight after the game and said, I got a real lift when I saw the team sheet. He said, I didn't think he'd weakened his team particularly, but he obviously did think he'd weakened his team a little bit. He just didn't say so. And he said he's made a lot of changes, and that gave me a lift. So he's told his players that. That was then put to David, who said, no, I brought in 3 international players plus the club captain, Joe Newell, but it was his first start in 13 months. And there was players who looked as if, and I felt from, what it takes in a cup tie to create a shock is the wee team needs to be played out of their skin, and the big team needs to be sort of 6 out of 10 all around the park. And that was Hibs. Nobody did anything particularly wrong, but they were just 6 out of 10 everywhere. They were sluggish, they were slow off the mark. Kieran Bowie's been clean through from halfway and never looked as if he was going to score. Thibaut Clige in the second half, header from me to you, straight into the goalkeeper's arms. And you're thinking, even then I'm thinking, okay, they'll get to extra time, they'll probably scramble through and it'll be well done us. And of course they didn't, because they lost it. They defended really badly to give away the corner in the first place, and then they end up losing the goal from it. But honestly, all credit, Dunfermline were tremendous on Saturday.
Yeah, they were, but the Hibs, when I saw the team, I thought, I'm not sure about that. Changing 2 of the back 3, as you say, Joe Newell coming in, trying to cope with a young, pacey, athletic Dunfermline team on that pitch there, and I just thought they called it all wrong. If David Gray wants to rotate his squad and wants to make changes, they go to Falkirk. I think you're going to Falkirk on Saturday to see them on Saturday.
Thank you for that.
Now, if they lose in Falkirk, Falkirk will get a wee bit closer to them in 5th. But they'll still have 15 games to retrieve that and pull away from Falkirk again.
But
when you make changes in Dunfermline, you're out the cup, that's it. You need to wait until next January till you're back in the cup. I thought they made a mess of it, a real mess of it.
He as I say, David got very spiky when he was asked about that, and he doesn't get spiky very often.
Which
but
usually indicates that he knows.
They probably knows, And the usual talk afterwards, players come out after and say, oh, well, we know we're as angry as the fans are. No, you're not. No, you're not as angry as the fans are. The fans have turned up, there's 5,000 of them, they've paid 25 quid each or whatever it is to get in, they've travelled, and then they've stood and watched that, and so you are not as angry. And if you're as angry as the fans are, show it out on the park, batter into a couple of tackles, You know, get each other told, but I never saw that with Hibs. No. And you're right, that is a problem. And I like Hibs. I think David Bayes, I'm going to echo you. He's a good manager. They've got really good players. And at Easter Road, they're tremendous.
And you're in a situation where later in the night, Hearts get knocked out the cup.
Yeah, absolutely.
And whatever happens in the next round, either Aberdeen or Motherwell are going to get knocked out the cup.
Yes.
And Kelly went out the cup.
Yeah.
And Livy went out the cup.
Yeah.
And if you'd got through, you would have had a home tie, Tam aware, don't take this the wrong way, you had a home tie against Celtic Hearts.
Would they have? Was it not alphabetical order? The draw went in.
Oh, well.
I'm being a little bit.
You're baffling me with science here.
Sorry.
You might have had a home tie against Celtic Hearts.
You might.
And you've got a chance in the last 8.
Yeah.
Who knows what can happen with it? Yeah. I think they made, as I say, they made a real mess of it.
Wow. It's a long tail end to the season. When you start the season in Europe and you've got high hopes, the last season was so good, and then suddenly you're playing almost half the season with not very much. What might help them is they go February the 10th, they go to Tynecastle on a Tuesday night.
Well,
they might just...
The biggest part of their season so far has been beating Hearts. And, trying to interrupt Hearts' procession towards the league title.
Yeah, and it would be again.
That would be again. So rather than, achieving things for yourself and trying to win a Scottish Cup, this is what your season's come down to, spoiling things for Hearts.
So they go to Falkirk on Saturday, who, tremendous, going to Tynecastle.
One of the stories of the season,
Falkirk. And they just, I thought they were brilliant against Celtic in the midweek. They were very unfortunate to lose that game. I saw them before that at my place at Paisley, totally outplayed St Mirren. John McGlynn and Paul Smith are just, they're different class, aren't they?
And I don't know where they find the players from. I saw them earlier in the season a few times, and the lad Williams and the lad Wilson, and they've got in, and they've got Philip Lisser is really developing, at the back, another loan signing, and they've now got a permanent deal for Ben Parkinson from Newcastle. Yeah. And not only does he score the goal, he then scores the penalty that takes him through, and he's got a bit about him because asked after the game, how far can you go? We can go all the way.
There you go.
He said, as the colour drained from Brad Spencer's face standing next to him.
I think wee John McGlynn must have a wee lab somewhere where he clones himself, because he seems to be at every game there ever is, anywhere, sitting there with his collar up, watching players, picking players out of nowhere.
He's a fancy coach, one of these Canada Goose coats now, hasn't he?
Aye, I never used to. He does say he has changed his style. Mm-hmm. He's gone a bit more kind of. He's not quite Pep, but he's kind of semi-Pep. Mm-hmm. But by the way, what a performance they put in this season, because you would have thought coming up, League One, Championship, Premiership would be a step too far, but they have been magnificent.
Well, I saw them lose at Livy on the 9th of August.
But they always lose at Livy.
It's Livy's last win, as you know, I think 22 games or something like that. Yeah. And I thought, I'm not sure about this.
Yeah. Physically, I wasn't sure about him.
I'm not sure. And then, my goodness, if...
But again, it's talk about Derek McInnes. John McGlynn's adaptable. He'll say, this is the way I've played for 2 years. We've swept all before us. I've tried it now in the first couple of games here. It's not really happening. Let's have a little play about with this. Let's find somebody that can do something a wee bit different. Mm-hmm. Let's, maybe we can't pass the ball as much as we did, and as tightly as we did in the Championship, because people are going to be ranting about us. Yeah. So let's change it a little bit. Let's fit. And also, he is also doing it without what you would call a centre forward. Yeah. And now he's brought Parkinson in. He's finally got one, but he's done it all the way along by using width and midfielders, and he's just a magnificent coach, and they are one of the stories of the season. However, the story of the season is still to unfold properly. It's at the top of the Premiership. This weekend, Rangers, Home and Dundee have got a chance to pull a little bit closer, because they know something's going to give between Hearts and Celtic. But that, for me, is the game of the season so far, coming up at Tynecastle on Sunday. Agreed. You can follow all the best coverage of it in SunSport, in paper and online. But wherever you're going this weekend, Thursday night, Saturday, Sunday, wherever you're going, enjoy your football, and we will see you next week.